Hold on, folks. I need to take care of something right quick. Hold on. Okay. So we got that one going. Thank you for your patience. Sorry, I need to take care of something really quickly. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Welcome, Kiana, to Pathfinder. I hope you find that a membership will serve you well. Okay. Hello, Mammy Abena. And to all others who are watching, hello, Sophia. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Tochi, aka Papa Dr. Tochi, Mama of the men's and the women's, the boys and the girls. And my website is at tochi.us or drtochi.com, where you can book me for your spiritual consultations. You can also see my events. You can also get your amulets from my website. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start up TikTok since I've made the announcement. Thank you to all of you who attended the grief ritual. I had good intentions of doing a class yesterday, but as expected, the grief ritual was a little bit on the heavy side. And so I just had to decompress some other way. Okay. I have this little gadget I've attached to my phone. Um, a microphone thingy I got many years ago and then kind of lost. And then I found it is a directional microphone. So I want to see if it's going to work on my phone device. Okay. Right. And then, as usual, we're just going to put TikTok off to the side because TikTok does tend to have drama. Okay. Hello, sweet mommy. Hello, Michi M. Okay. So, I'm thinking of offering again the level 1 reclaim your authority retreat and offering the level 2 the embody your authority retreat. So if this is of interest to you, please send me an email or a DM. Let me know that it's of interest to you. And I want to see how many people are interested to see if it's something I can run again. And, we're still at the beginning of March, so I can run it this March if you need me to do that. If you are a member on Patreon, remember to check the announcements on Patreon. I already posted the events for this month. So the member classes, the gratitude communion, the advanced member classes, and so forth. Also, in the month of March, we have the spring equinox. And so we will have an ancestor healing ritual on that day. So please make sure that you're up to date with the announcements and that you're not like, oh my God, I wish I had heard about it. Because I try my best to make the announcements and announcements and more announcements. I'm kind of looking weird on TikTok. I put on this weird filter. I look a strange looking filter. Let me try another filter. See if I look more natural there. Okay. So today, our story for today for analysis is the cosmic egg and the primordial spirits. And this is from Mali, the country of Mali. If you do not know where Mali is in West Africa. And I'm saying it because there are some people who have no idea where the country of Mali is. Mali. Please remember to like and share the video so that the algorithm will inform other folks and let them know that class is in session. I'd appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up. Let folks know that class has started, okay? Let folks know that class has started. So thumbs up, double tap, power tap, whatever it takes so we can get the class started, okay? So we're going to dissect or deconstruct the story of the cosmic egg and the primordial spirit. And this is from the Dogon of Mali. Okay. There has been quite a bit said about the Dogon of Mali. Okay. And this story, we're not here to analyze the Dogon and their spiritual beliefs, but the Dogon are the folks who um, believe that their ancestors come from a planet that is still visible in the sky. I believe is Nibiru. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. So the Dogon people of Mali possess one of the most intricate and philosophically complex cosmologies in the world. Trying to get the words out. They live in the harsh rocky cliffs of the Bandiagara escarpment, where water is not easy to get. And so for them, water means a lot. Not only does it have a material meaning, but water also has a spiritual meaning for them. Okay. So for the Dogon, water is the literal manifestation of divine order, purity, and life. If there is dryness, it represents chaos, impurity, and the lack of life. So for the Dogon of Mali, water is very important. And in this story, we're going to see how they describe the creation of water. Okay. For the Dogon, Dogon, okay, their supreme creator is called Amma, Amma. Please remember to give the live stream a thumbs up if you're on YouTube so that folks will get their notification. Help me out. Help a sister out. Help a papa out with a thumbs up. And that encourages me to put out more material like this. Thank you very much for liking. I appreciate it. So, the Supreme Creator God, Amma, according to the Dogon, started the universe with a cosmic egg. Okay. So, inside the egg were the Nommo. Okay. And these were spirits that were amphibious, primordial, and hermaphrodite. Let me know if you can hear me okay on TikTok. All right, I'm trying out a new microphone on TikTok, so please let me know if you can hear me okay on TikTok. And remember to power tap. Okay. So, primordial is ancient, original, ancient. Amphibious means of the water, living in the water, existing in water, water creature. Okay. And hermaphrodite, hermaphrodite, hermaphrodite. My goodness, I am struggling with my words this evening. A hermaphrodite, okay, hermaphrodite is somebody or a creature that has both male and female organs and characteristics. There are some people who are hermaphrodites. When they were born, they have both sets of organs and systems. Okay. When we say androgynous, androgynous means neither male nor female. You can't really tell. So these folks were primordial, amphibious, and hermaphroditic, right? Hermaphrodic. They were possessing. They were possessing both organs. Okay. They were hermaphrodites. But they were also spirits. And so in the Dogon cosmology, they could be considered spirit guides. They could be considered spirit guides. Okay. And Amma, their supreme creator God, created these spirits and put them inside this egg. These spirit guides, okay, were the masters of water and the masters of life. So anywhere they would be at, there would be life, there would be water. And just a quick note here. I know there was some class we did years ago about water. When I talked about, when I did this class on water, okay? And when we look at the origin stories of several cultures across the globe, we discover that they have water. They have water in their creation stories, in their origin stories. Without water, there's no life as we know it. That's not to say that all sentient beings require water, but there, if there's no water, the life as we know it cannot exist. Many occult schools and scholars have said that water is the first element. You can have fire, you can have air, you can have earth, you can have other kinds of elements. You know, in some traditions they have four elements. In some traditions they have five elements, the fifth element being spirit or essence. Some other traditions have six elements. But there's always water. Okay. Would you like me to tell you this joke? I'll tell you this joke. Um, and for those of you who are Muslims, you'll probably appreciate the joke. How did I want to make sure I got this very well? How did the guy put the joke? He said, Muslims must work with jinns every day that they have to pray. In every aspect of their lives, you have to work with jinns. And you know jinns in Islam, okay? These are called the smokeless beings. So as Muslims, you must work with jinns. You have to work with jinns. You cannot escape working with jinns every day. You use the jinns, and the jinns are with you. Without those jinns, you can't exist. And these jinns, you have to love them. And do you know what jinns they're talking about? They're talking about oxygen and hydrogen. So every drop of water you use comes with jinns, oxygen and hydrogen. I'm sure this joke has been told in different formats, but I thought that was kind of cute. There are different kinds of jinns you have to work with. You must be with them and work with them. So even you can see in jokes like that, okay, it's always water. Water is very important. In many cultures, if you come to their home, the first thing they will give you is a cup of water. So I want us to keep this in mind as we go through the story. So Amma created these beings inside the cosmic egg as perfect twins, and they represented balance and harmony. So there were 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. Here's the description of duality. Here's a description of duality. And this is how the Dogon explained the existence of duality on this planet. Everything was created in twos. But this is really interesting because not only were each of the spirits hermaphrodites, combining two genders in each spirit, they also were companioned. So you had one hermaphrodite was a twin to another hermaphrodite. Okay. So before Amma's creation was fully complete, one of the beings inside the egg, named Ogo, grew impatient. Ogo broke out of the cosmic egg prematurely, tearing a piece of its placenta with him to form the earth. These were spirits that were created to form life, new life. And so this Ogo was not patient. I got to go out there and do my own thing. So found his way out of the cosmic egg. Thank you, everything by Angela Nicole. Thank you so much for the gift. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with its placenta formed the earth. However, Ogo's rebellion was disastrous. Because Ogo acted outside of divine order, it introduced chaos, impurity, and extreme dryness into the universe. Ogo was then transformed into the Yurugu, which is also known as the pale fox, an animal condemned to wander the arid, parched earth forever in search of its lost twin. Because remember, these spirits were twins. The world was now broken, barren, and devoid of life-giving moisture. Thanks for the likes. So, in order to save the earth, because now Ogo has formed the earth, but there is no water on the earth, in order to save the earth from being permanently consumed by Ogo's dry chaos, Amma realized that a profound sacrifice was necessary to restore cosmic balance. And listen to this part very carefully, because it's full of metaphysical symbolism and also will sound familiar to you if you're a religious person. Amma, the creator god, took another of the nomo spirits, often referred to as the nomo semi, and sacrificed it. Amma then, I'm trying to find the platform safe words to use, separated the nomo's body into parts. Okay. That's what Amma had to do to that body. And cast the pieces of the nomo's body in the four cardinal directions of the universe. As the pieces of this divine water spirit fell across the cosmos and onto the arid earth, they neutralized, those pieces neutralized the impurity left by Ogo, that first spirit that ran out and started doing his thing. The body parts and the body fluid, the red fluid of the nomo, brought the first moisture, creating the rivers, pools, and the very concept of rain. Okay. Now, Amma, the creator, didn't just say, okay, I've divvied up this normal, use this normal as a sacrifice in this ritual in order to counterbalance what Ogo did. I'm going to resurrect this normal that I used for this ritual. So Amma did not leave this normal unalive. The creator gathered the scattered essence of the normal, resurrected it, and sent it down to earth in a great cosmic arc. Along with the resurrected normal, the ark carried the first ancestors of humanity, animals, and the seeds of all agriculture. So now that there was water on earth, we can now send human beings, we can send animals, and we can send the seeds of all plants, all vegetation. According to Dogon tradition, the specific places on earth where the parts, body parts of the Onomo originally fell became sacred ground. Remember, Amma threw these body parts in 4 cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. So those places where those parts fell on earth became sacred. Today, these spots are marked by Binu shrines, distinctive mud-built sanctuaries found in Dogon villages. And they do that to honor and to mark where those body parts fell on earth to create moisture. So because the earth was born from Ogo's chaotic dryness, it is inherently prone to drought and famine. The Dogon believe that the moisture brought by the sacrificed Nomo is constantly evaporating and must be spiritually maintained. The Binu shrines are the focal points where agricultural priests of the Dogon, also known as the Binu Kedini, perform rituals, offer millet gruel. There's a seed called millet. It looks like small corn, and pray for rain. And in general, this myth serves as a reminder that the world's water was bought with a divine sacrifice, and human beings must actively participate in religious rituals to keep the drought at bay. So here we have a creator spirit called Amma. What I found interesting about this name of Amma is that there is a Hindu woman. She's a guru, she's a saint, she's a very holy woman in India, also known short form as Amma. Her name is much longer, but the short form of her name is Amma. And she is known as the epitome of love. She doesn't talk much, all she does is hug. She's known as the hugging saint. And I would recommend you look her up. She's called the hugging saint, Amma, Amma, in India. And it's been said that she has used her hugs to heal sicknesses and perform a lot of miracles. I got to meet her many years ago in Michigan. There was a time, there was a group, a Hindu group that brought her to Michigan. And we all were there for more than 8 hours waiting to get hugged by this woman. And if I remember correctly, she would hug you and whisper something in your ear. And that thing she was whispering in your ear was supposed to be your mantra or your secret word or something like that. And somebody nearby would write it on a piece of paper and give it to you. I got mine. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to do with it. So unfortunately, I did not keep it. But I will tell you that my experience hugging her and having her hug me, she was so soft. She was very, very soft. But I also felt it was like an agape sort of love, you know. Now, there were people who were hugging her at this event that were breaking down in tears. They were just like crying hysterically. I didn't cry. I was like, I want to see exactly what's going on. Okay. And so I hugged her and I was like, okay, she felt nice and soft. She smelled nice. But for me, maybe I wasn't spiritually open enough or aware enough. I don't know what it was, but that was that for me. But there were people in that place. They had to be in that room, they had to be over 500 people. There were people in the main, because if I remember correctly, it was a hotel banquet hall that was rented. And then there were people in outside of the banquet hall in the hallways. I mean, that place was packed with people. And I just happened to go there early. Okay. So that's why I was able to get a seat on the inside and everybody was sitting on the floor. Okay. And they had this raised dais, thing. And she was there and they had monks and other Hindu um priests sitting around her in a semicircle. Some were singing, some were drumming. She would sing along with them from time to time. But she spent most of her time just staring at all of us in the crowd. She was just looking at us and she would look at us from side to side. From side to side, she would just be looking at us. And people were just crying. People were just crying. Now, the folks up in there weren't just Indian folks. I mean, they had Caucasian white folks, who were Hindu priests, who were drumming and singing and participating and managing the whole thing too. So, did I see any black person there? Not that I remember. I don't remember seeing a black person as part of that whole thing. She isn't. I believe she's still alive. She isn't a particularly tall person. I don't even think she's up to 5 feet tall. Okay, she's a real, small person. But she's ample, not fat, but has a good size. She healthy, like we would say. And she sat there on top of this thing and you would go up and she would hug you and go, and she did this without eating, drinking, or stopping for about 6 to 8 hours, somewhere between there, because I know we were there for a very long time. Okay. um so when I hear this name Amma, I'm reminded of that Amma known as the hugging saint. And that's all she did. And when you look at her story, she said she started doing that as a child and she was telling her parents that's what she came here to do. And they wanted her to get married, have children, and they thought it was a whole bunch of foolishness. What is it that you're just hugging people? What does it mean you're hugging people? And her parents gave her a hard time. Now, I don't remember if she got married or not. I think she did and had kids, but she had to continue. This was her destiny, to hug people. and impart love to people through her hugging. And her family gave her such a hard time. But when people started reporting miracles through the hugging, even her parents had to stop and start paying attention to what was going on. Um, there was also this story about her. There was a man who was, and I don't know how true this is, but it was a story told while we were there because people were telling so many stories about the miraculous things she was doing. So somebody said that there was a time they brought a sick person to her, and the guy's body was covered with sores, and she went with her tongue all over his body, all over those sores, and they disappeared. They healed. Now, would I do that? No. Did it happen for sure? I don't know. But this was a story they were telling, because there, there was a lot of time spent drumming and singing and drumming and singing. They were singing in Hindu and, Indian language. It was more than Hindu. They were singing in other Indian languages as well. And they had all these pamphlets and booklets and things and mala beads. I think I bought my mala bead that I have somewhere. That's where I bought it from. My wooden mala beads, if I knew exactly where I dropped it somewhere. That's where I got that from. So we have in this doggone creator story their supreme creator being Amma. Okay? And in the story, we're not told that Amma has a gender, and rightfully so. Okay. And Amma began the universe with a cosmic egg. And we know that the egg features in many origin myths because it's when the egg cracks that life begins. Okay. And then, of course, we bring up that question, did the chicken come before the egg or the egg before the chicken? Okay. So for the Dogon of Mali, they have this concept that here's what the creator did and sent these beings out into the universe to go do the work of life creation. But again, we see parallels between this story and some other stories. There's a rebellion. Does that sound familiar with our Abrahamic religions? There's a rebellion. Somebody's saying, you know what? You're moving too slow for me. I want to get the show going. And because of this rebellion, problems are introduced into the system. And we find in these stories that it is the problem, the description of the problem usually comes from someone who is not doing what they're supposed to do. Why am I classifying this story under the Matchstick Girl saga? Because it involves the giving up of life in order to achieve a resolution. And we can find again parallels between this story and even the stories we hear in the Abrahamic faiths and even in other myths. Somebody had to be put out there, somebody had to be offered up, in order for others to live. Somebody had to be offered up so that the problem would be solved. Okay. So when we look at the original Matchstick Girl story, we saw that she gave herself up in order to solve the problem. When she says, "Okay, grandma, come and take me," she was no longer going to be a burden to her father who didn't want her, and she wasn't going to be a burden to the society that wasn't going to help her or buy her matchsticks. So we see the offering being presented as the ultimate solution. And then remember the last one we did with the young lady was going to offer herself to the seven-headed snake at the well. If I offer myself to the seven-headed snake, then my people will eat, my people will feed, my people will not experience a famine. And the matchstick girl, in her own mind, if I go out in the streets and find someone to buy these matchsticks, my father will have food to eat. She's not even thinking about herself so much. She's thinking it would be great to have some roast goose. But if I am the one that has to go out there and offer myself up in order to bring resources back to the house, to the home. Her father was at home and he was going to her if she did not bring back money from selling those matchsticks. So here we have the concept of someone saying, I will put myself out here for the benefit of others so that the others will eat and the others will make it and the others will survive. So Amma takes another of the nomo because the Ogo was one of the nomo, took another nomo and said, here, we're going to partition you. I'm trying to think of safe words to use. We're going to partition you and distribute you in the four cardinal directions. Why the four cardinal directions? Four cardinal directions, again, are the basis of location in several myths. And it's really interesting when you're looking at all these stories that regardless of the culture, they defined location by four directions. So if you go to Africa, there are four directions. If you go to Europe, there are four directions. You go to the Americas, there's four directions. You go to Asia, there are four directions. Okay. Four is the number of stability. Four is a number of stability. Why is it a number of stability? I have this box. If I place it on a flat surface, it's not going to tip over. Okay. It is strong. It is stable. I can do things with it. If you take away one of the four supports, it could probably make do with 3 supports. But if you start out with 3 supports and take away 1 support, it's not going to stand. Four represents the foundation. 4 represents constancy, stability, reliability. 4 is the container. It is the square. It is what is required to make something true. If you're familiar with carpentry or masonry, you will hear that expression. Is something sincere? Sincere means level. True means perfectly aligned. And if you're talking to someone who is a Freemason, you will hear them use these kinds of language. Okay. These are considered you hear the 4 square. It's considered very powerful in occultism and metaphysics. There are certain, that's why our altars are 4 square. That's why we have 4 elements on our altars. That is why some indigenous communities have 4 days in their week. And 7 weeks in their month. You see this 4 also being represented in this creation story. We have a hermaphrodite, which is 2, being paired with another hermaphrodite, which is 4. Okay. There's so much you can do with that number 4. So much significance to that number 4. So here we have Amma basically saying, I am going to purify and cleanse this universe and the earth that was created by accident. I'm extending cleansing in all directions. Not only to take care of the impurity and the chaos that has already been introduced, but also to take care of any chaos and impurity that's created in the past, present, future, and in the timeless for all time. Okay. So we see that 4 becomes a pretty powerful number in this creation myth. So we also find in myths like this that it is the creator, supreme creator, that demands, describes, and accepts the sacrifice. So when you look at Christianity, for example, you have a God that says there is impurity, there's not so good going on in the world. And in order to balance out that not so good, there has to be a sacrifice, an offering. And the offering can only be accepted if it is based in unaliving the offering. It has to be a living offering, unalived offering. And then the essence of that offering, I have to be very careful with the language I use, of course, because of these platforms. So we have to have an offering, unalive the offering, present the offering, and then I will accept that offering. I make the rules, I execute the rules, and then I create balance and harmony. I am the judge. I am the jury. I am justice. I'm everything. So we have this idea where the creator says, after this offering is made, the offering will serve as a cleansing, as a purification to bring things into balance again. And so we become fascinated with this idea of cleansing and offerings. And many times we don't even understand why. Why is it that I have to do a ritual? Why do I have to make an offering? What has that got to do with the situation I'm trying to fix? And somehow these ancient peoples understood the spiritual principle that without good, you would have a predominance of bad and imbalance. Without the bad, you have a predominance of good, and that in itself is also an imbalance. Okay. So, did you learn something from today's class? I think this was an interesting myth to look at and to start thinking around how we started seeing sacrifice and offerings as ways of expiating negativity and ill balance and chaos in the world. If you look at a lot of myths, you will find this theme you know, played back. You have to make an offering, you have to make some kind of sacrifice in order for harmony to reign, in order for the problem to be resolved. If you look at Ifa, for instance, and you read stories about the Orishas, it's all about that. There's a whole bunch of offerings going on, and they're making these offerings in order to fix a bad situation or to prevent a bad situation from happening. Okay. All right. So again, like I said, if you are interested in level one, level one, reclaim your authority. Level two, embody your authority retreat. Send me a message, an email, a DM. I think I can manage to set it up for March. I think with us analyzing these stories and thinking about them and sitting over them, we need to start understanding what reclaiming and embodying our spiritual authority is all about. It's not about being helpless. It's not about being helpless. When I look at this normal here, and the story says where they were hermaphrodites, each of us are hermaphrodites in our own way based on our energies because each one of us has both masculine and feminine energies. And we can switch them on and off depending on what's going on and what we're trying to achieve. So, the same way that the normal was sent here to create life is the same way that we here are creating life. And we create life in a variety of ways. We create life physically through intimacy. We create life with our tongue. We create life with our minds. We create life with our hands. So this story here is very much our own story. It's our story as well. Because if there's somebody out there who's being rebellious and acting the fool and creating difficult situations and chaos, somebody else will have to come and balance it out. But that somebody else is somebody whose function it is. Because remember, I have said this, every spirit has its function. That's why you have a destiny. That's why I have a destiny. We all have our functions, and the functions are different. We are spirits. We are invisible spirits. Remember, we talked about that one of our stories. We are the invisible spirits. I know a lot of us are like looking around our rooms going, well, I don't know, they're invisible spirits here. You to yourself, you are an invisible spirit. Because if I look at you, I don't see your spirit, but your spirit is there. And I know your spirit is there because if your spirit wasn't there, you wouldn't be here. So, as far as I'm concerned, you're an invisible spirit to me, and you're an invisible spirit to others, and I'm an invisible spirit to you. Every spirit has its function. And one meditation that we can do, especially when we're feeling discouraged, is what is my function? Not what is my life purpose, but what is my function? Not what is my life purpose, what is my function? And you might get a faster answer contemplating that question. What is my function? Any questions before we end class? Remember to like and share these classes so that other people can benefit the same way that you do. Okay. Thank you for all of you who gave me thumbs up and hearts, the gifts, the power taps. Appreciate you. If you're going through with the Lenten fast or the Ramadan fast, I congratulate you on having come so far. Let me look at my calendar. Yeah. So 10 days from now will be the Lailat Qadir. If you are following the Ramadan fast. And that is supposed to be the night, the estimated night. Well, first of all, I think there are a number of stories around that. Okay. I believe that's the night of power. Okay. It's considered the holiest night when the Quran was first revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. Okay. It is also considered the night when the angels descend, set people's destinies, and prayers are particularly accepted. The night of power. Okay. I treat every day as a day and night of power, but I'm just saying. If you are fasting along, use this time wisely. If there are changes you want to make to your life, okay, now would be a good time to start instituting those changes. Especially with respect to your diet and your health. Okay. If there are some things you want to start quitting in your life, now would be a good time to start doing so and planning how to do so. Okay. We're thankful to our Creator, our guardian spirits, our ancestors, and spirit guides for today's forbidden fruit. May it not be wasted in our lives and in our consciousness. Ashe. He said, Kamaga, the Koza, Laseti, Makwande, Yaboboyan, who it is done. It is finished, it is complete. Amen. Ma'at. Thank you for coming to class. Love you all. And thank you, Angela Nicole, for all those gifts. You're welcome. Thank you, Auntie Mazuba.